The sirens didn't just come from the east, they came from the north too, at the exact same time. Imagine staring at a radar screen in a command bunker under Tel Aviv. You have exactly 90 seconds. 90 seconds to warn the public, 90 seconds to get millions of people into bomb shelters, and 90 seconds for a computer system to calculate the intercept geometry for threats arriving from two completely different countries at once. March 4th, 2026. This was not a glitch. It was not a coincidence. It was a synchronized multi-axis nightmare. From the east, out of Iran, ballistic missiles traveling at Mach 8, Mach 12, Mach 15, screaming through the atmosphere. And simultaneously, from the north, out of Lebanon, Hezbollah unleashes swarms of suicide drones, rockets, and anti-tank missiles pouring over the hills of the Galilee. Two countries, two threat vectors, one perfectly timed strike. If you want to understand where this massive Middle Eastern war is heading, you have to look past the explosions and look at the strategy. What Iran and Hezbollah just did is not simply a tactical maneuver. It is a terrifying military doctrine designed years ago to break the back of the most advanced air defense network on the planet. Israel's layered defense system, the Arrow, David Sling, and the Iron Dome, is a technological marvel, but it relies on geographic signatures and orientation. When a threat comes from Iran, the deep space radars and interceptor batteries physically and electronically orient toward the east. When a threat comes from Lebanon, the Iron Dome batteries orient toward the north. But when ballistic missiles and drone swarms arrive at the exact same second from opposite directions, the system is forced to split its brain. It splits the tracking bandwidth. It splits the interceptor allocation. The operators in those bunkers are forced into a brutal game of triage. They are asked to solve two complex geometries at once, drawing from stockpiles that are already under massive depletion pressure. You can build redundancies. You can spend billions on the best interceptors money can buy, but you cannot create extra time out of thin air. 90 seconds is 90 seconds. When the system's attention is fractured, the margin for error drops to absolute zero. To understand how this two-front war ignited, you have to rewind to the event that shattered the region, Operation Epic Fury. On February 28th, a devastating decapitation strike took out Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. For Hezbollah, sitting across the border in Lebanon, this was the ultimate red line. Since the U.S. brokered ceasefire back in November 2024, Hezbollah had maintained a fragile, quiet restraint. They had been badly bruised. Hassan Nasrallah was dead. Their border infrastructure was in ruins. But the assassination of the supreme leader demanded a response. In Hezbollah's ideological framework, remaining silent was not an option. It was a betrayal of the axis of resistance. Iran needed Israel's air defense to look north so the ballistic missiles from the east could slip through. So on March 2nd, Hezbollah pulled the trigger and opened the gates of hell. And they did it against the desperate screams of their own country. The Lebanese state is currently collapsing under the weight of a war it did not authorize and does not want. The government in Beirut unambiguously condemned Hezbollah's attacks. The justice minister actually requested the immediate arrest of anyone connected to Iran's Revolutionary Guards. Over 150 Iranian operatives, including diplomats and Quds Force advisors who pull Hezbollah's strings, scrambled to evacuate the country. Israeli jets are currently leveling buildings in central Beirut, assassinating Iranian commanders as they try to flee. Lebanon is watching its sovereign territory become a pulverized battlefield, and they have absolutely zero power to stop it, because Hezbollah does not take orders from the Lebanese armed forces. They take orders from Tehran. Since March 2nd, Hezbollah has launched over 116 coordinated attack waves. Tel Aviv is being targeted, Haifa Bay is under fire, and Israeli response was brutal and immediate. On March 3rd, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz didn't just order more airstrikes, he authorized a full-scale ground invasion of Lebanon. This is not a limited raid. The IDF's 91st Division is pushing across the border. Over 60,000 Lebanese civilians were displaced in a matter of days. The war has officially entered a new, terrifying phase, targeting the foundations of Iran's regime and its proxy networks simultaneously. But here is the cold, hard math that keeps Israeli planners awake at night. Hezbollah still has roughly 25,000 missiles. 25,000. Even though they are not firing at full capacity, keeping their most advanced systems in reserve, an arsenal of that size does not run out quickly. It is distributed, buried deep inside mountains, and hidden beneath civilian infrastructure. The wars of 2006 and 2024 proved exactly how nearly impossible it is to neutralize a decentralized arsenal from the air. This is why a two-front war changes the very definition of time. Israel is now fighting against two separate clocks. Clock number one is the Iran clock. How many days until the US and Israeli bombing campaigns degrade Iran's launch capacity enough that the Eastern Front finally quiets down? Iran is being bombed into strategic paralysis. Their production infrastructure is being dismantled wave by wave. That attrition is measurable. But clock number two is the Lebanon clock, and that clock is a nightmare. Because even if Iran is completely neutralized tomorrow, Hezbollah's 25,000 rockets are already sitting at Israel's doorstep. A war with an end state in Tehran can still feel like an endless apocalypse in Tel Aviv if the northern border remains active. Sirens will still sound, interceptors will still burn, millions of people will still live their lives inside that terrifying 90-second window. This is exactly why the axis of resistance exists. It was built for this exact moment, to ensure that a war with Iran is never, ever just a war with Iran. Israel has stated they have surprises prepared for this next phase, but as the ground invasion deepens and the missiles continue to fall from two directions at once, the entire Middle East is staring into the abyss. Can Israel sustain the bandwidth for a brutal two-front war of attrition, or will this synchronized strategy bleed their defense systems dry? Drop your raw thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. If this breakdown helped you see the terrifying strategy hiding behind the headlines, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Make sure you hit subscribe because the world is moving dangerously fast right now, and we are going to be right here to track every second of it. Stay vigilant.